What's going on, players? I have a little bit of a different video today. I am backlogged on videos and life is just super crazy right now. So this is edited, but I don't have a team builder for this week. I know that's going to be so disappointing for all of you guys because I know how much you love the team builders. But yeah, no team builder for you guys this week. This is just the battle. I'm playing Brayden. This is a replacement coach for a coach that dropped for week 2 in this league. We've had so many people drop, man, and it's been so difficult trying to find people that can, stick to what they're supposed to do and just get battles out. It's been an interesting season. I think there will be a lot of changes moving forward and looking for people that are a little more solid and able to follow a schedule. That's no dig to anybody that's out there. It's just, it's frustrating when some people are able to get everything done and other people aren't. But anyway, thank you to Brayden for getting this match in. He took over for a coach named Hydro in our league. But anyway, we're going to hop into this match. I'll stop ranting and raving. I make a pretty good prediction on, forgot his name for a second, Golden Go, and predicted the Talonflame to come out just because Talonflame is pretty good in this match. I don't want to let Goodra go down super early because I don't know what this Golden Go is going to do to me, and I'd rather not find out the hard way and lose the match. So I figured this is a good opportunity for me to double out into my Shiga, and get up Toxic Spikes. And we are able to do just that. And Toxic Spikes are going to be super, super fortunate because he does have a wall in Quagsire. And outside of Meowscarada, I don't really have a way to touch that. I always forget that Roaring Moon is not a flying type because it does hover off the ground. I always assume that it isn't affected by Toxic Spikes. And it's just weird. And like Hawlucha touches the ground and isn't affected because it is technically a flying type. But anyway, I'm happy to have this poison on Roaring Moon because this is a problem. I have a couple defensive walls in Zapdos, and I'm actually Colberberry Espathra this week, and Espathra is built just to take on this Roaring Moon. That is an ideal win con against this team. If I'm able to Lumina Crash some things, especially late, Espathra can just kind of take over this match. Crunch is not gonna feel good, but I am able to U-turn out, get some damage on this thing, and now it is in a range where I can kind of chip it down with poison and with other moves. Now here, so playing on Wi-Fi is different because you can't watch your opponent's film and you don't know what plays they tend to make. So for me, when I'm playing Wi-Fi and I'm playing against an opponent I don't necessarily know, I will try to make a mid-ground play. So here I go Terra Fairy and I just click Terra Blast, which I didn't know if my opponent would want to save this with how low it was. He does, and that's cool. No disrespect there. But I didn't really see that coming, so I clicked Terra Blast, and I am locked in. So this was a really good play on my opponent's part. I'm going to launch a Fairy Terra Blast, and it's not going to do a whole lot. I did want to click Volt Switch because, like I said, he does have that Quagsire sitting there, and I didn't want to be locked into an Electric-type move against Quagsire because Spikes and Hazards just in general for this team are not super, super fortunate. So, yeah, we are going to have to swap out into Goodra. I'm cool with that. Goodra is still here just to kind of wall this thing, see what it wants to do. But my opponent makes a really great double. And if I remember correctly, they go Talonflame here. Just to get some health back on this thing. Again, I don't want to let my Goodra go yet just because I'm not certain what this Golden Go is. I've only seen the one move, so I was judging based off the damage that it wasn't Specs, but it might have been Scarf. And Scarf is not good for my team just because I don't have a whole lot of walls, at least for this match. And also, I will be putting a video out at some point. We did make some free agent changes. That's why I have a Spathra on this team. Yeah, I don't think I touched on that. But I dropped Hisuian, Arcanine, and a couple of other Mons to pick up a Spathra. Another coach dropped a Spathra, and then I was able to scoop it right up. So on this turn, I believe my opponent does go for U-turn, and we do get the static off, which is super, super nice. Quagsire is going to come out, get poisoned, and I'm going to launch a couple attacks just to try and whittle this thing down. I was kind of expecting my opponent to go for either Spikes or Toxic, just because I feel like Zapdos is a major annoyance to him. So here I do double out into my Glamora. And I think we do catch a Toxic here, if I remember correctly. And then I think what I end up doing is doubling out on this thing because an EQ is coming. And if this Quagsire is unaware, what I can do is I can go out into my mixed Gudra. That's right, because I'm running a mixed Gudra this week, and fire off Draco Meteors one after another, and it won't really do anything because we have just enough investment to two-hit KO the Quagsire, and because it is unaware, I don't really have to worry about those special attack drops. So my opponent does switch out, though, so it is kind of unfortunate. My plan was ruined. And, oh, excuse me, this Talonflame is not paralyzed yet, but it will be soon. We do kill this thing. It's quite unfortunate that my opponent got paralyzed because he would have outsped. But static is always a thing. You know, I think it's a 30% chance to paralyze. So in that case, it's not too wild, but again, it's not always the best. Quagsire is in, and I can't really dance around this thing too much. So I am going to go out into my Gudra, and I am going to try and fire off a Draco. Spikes do come off, which is unfortunate because we are Focus Sash Meowscarada, and Meowscarada doesn't really enjoy having that sash broken. And yeah, at this point, if it's Scarf Cleaver in the back and we don't take care of some of the offensive threats, we are not looking so good. And my opponent is playing really, really well despite all the bad hacks that they're getting. I am able to fire off a Draco. I was hoping that this Quagsire would live just long enough for me to fire off another one. But it is what it is. And I wanted to get a little bit more lefties back. But with leftovers and poison, this Quagsire is going to go down. So we don't get that extra round of leftovers. And it's okay. It's not really going to make a huge impact in the match. But I just wanted a little bit more leftovers because I feel like the opponent's Palmot is going to come out here. And if I remember correctly, we are correct in that. I think my opponent was hoping that I was a full special attack Gudra, which I was not. But he is going to click Bulk Up here, and Bulk Up is kind of problematic. I do have to hope that he doesn't have something like Mach Punch, because even Mach Punch at +1 will do a pretty good amount of damage to my Rotom. And if he wants to get hazards up with Cleavor later, we're kind of running into that danger zone of I need to be able to outspeed everything and not take enough damage to get chipped down. So it's just going to make things a little more problematic. I am going to stay in here. I'm gonna hope and pray that he decides not to go for another attack. Or for another bulk up, and we are going to die here, which is okay, because I'm going to go out into Rotom, and I'm going to try and kill this thing. With this thing out of the way and Quagsire down 2, I know that this is going to be another win con. Now I can just come in and click Volt Switch, but I do have to be careful that I don't just let things set up. Golden Go still being around is not going to be super fortunate. Come to find out, I think what he was Expert Belt, and he played it really well. I thought it was Scarf for a considerable time. I wanted him to go for Make It Rain a couple times so that I could bring in my Glamora and potentially get like an Earth Power off safely. But even at -4, Make It Rain is still a surefire KO against my Glamora. So Shadow Ball comes out. He does get a Spadef drop. It's not the end of the world because I have been hacking him left and right. And at this point, it is what it is. I'll just fire off some damage, try to roost up, and see if we can take this thing out. My opponent does switch up his moves, which shows me that he's not choiced in any way, shape, or form, which is good news for me. But I still don't know what that item is. And I was thinking maybe he was Colbur. And if he was Colbur, Meowscarada was in a really, really bad spot. So Sheikah comes off. I want to see what Earth Power will do, if that will put him in range for even a Colbur knockoff, which it will. Unless he's super bulky, which judging by the damage that he was doing, he was not super bulky. So that was the ultimate play there for me. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't setting this thing up to take me out in the long run. But Meowscarada is able to take this thing out, which is super nice. With it out of the way, we kind of have to deal with Roaring Moon. I'm glad that Roaring Moon was able to burn his booster energy earlier, because if it goes +1 and then Dragon Dances, then a Spathro with spikes is not going to be able to take, even with a Colbur Berry, is not going to be able to take a crunch from that. So U-turn does come off. We see that this is scarfed, and now I know what my in-game has to be. I have to get a Spathro in. I have to hope and pray that he doesn't go super offensive or super aggro, and I am able to get a Calm Mind up. Hopefully he predicts my Protect, and then I can clean with Dazzling Gleam and Lumina Crash, and then let Rotom take care of things. So Spathro comes out. We are able to live this attack just barely. My opponent goes for Dragon Dance. We go Calm Mind. And again, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, is this the way to win? Because if he attacks, then I go +1 speed, and then I outspeed on the next turn. And if he goes Dragon Dance, then I at least live one with the Colbur Berry, and then I can outspeed on the second turn. So either way, I had to read my opponent, and I was hoping and praying that at this point he would just attack. He does. We just barely live this attack, and it's wild. I had no idea. I wonder if this was adamant. I did not get my opponent's team paste at the end of this match, so I think it was adamant to do that much damage. I know the spike is up, but we just barely lived that. So that plus Lumina Crash into Cleave War will give that -2, which means that T-Bolt always cleans up. But had things gone just a little bit differently in this match, we could very easily lose. So this was a good game to my opponent. Thanks for stepping in and taking over a team that you didn't get to draft. For what it's worth, I think you played really, really well. You gave me a hard time. This was a really fun match. It was actually a pretty quick match too, which I always appreciate because it means less editing. But yeah, it was a good time. So Brayden, if you're watching this, GG, dude. And we will see you guys next week. Enjoy the rest of the match.